Hello everyone, and welcome to another video about Stellaris. Today we're actually going to be going into a campaign, starting it from scratch, and jumping in to a game. I'm going to be playing this as I would if I was playing a new game for the first time. That is to say that I will be trying to explain everything that I do along every step. Now this is using the latest patch, so there may be some slight changes. We're going to create new nation because that's what I always like to do, although I'm really not going to spend too much time on this. We're going to be these interesting bird folk, and they're going to be the Jezinazi. And they are going to use the I don't mind that one. Ah yes, we will be the Starflocks, why not? So that's fine. In terms of statistics for our racial traits, I'm going to basically go and do the usual things that I like to do, which are communal and charismatic. Everything else can really sort of, although I wouldn't mind enduring. Okay, let's also grab enduring. That's a very easy way to do that. We'll take weak, and that'll let us take enduring. Done. Okay. In terms of color variants, oh, that's pretty cool. I don't like that sometimes the clothes massively change. Oh yeah, I suppose we'll give you a name. Okay, in terms of world preference, I almost always prefer to be something like a desert world or something like that. I generally prefer not to go continental, and we'll start in the Sol system. I've said my reasons for almost always starting in the Sol system, and for this campaign, that will make a lot of sense. We're avian, and now we get to choose some stats, some government and ethics. So I want to do a lot of research reasonably well, so I definitely want to be a materialist and not be collectivist or individualist. So materialist sounds good. Can't be collectivist or individualist, so we will be xenophilic. But we'll be lovers of military as well. That seems like a pretty interesting setup. I mean, I know a lot of people prefer to specifically go fanatical, and that's fine, but you know, maybe we could go fanatic materialist. Why not? Yeah, let's see how that goes. And we're going to pick the Science Directorate. I generally prefer direct democracy as a government type, but ah yes, the Empire name, which cannot ever be actually it doesn't. Don't we normally? Okay, fine. The glorious Stellar Empire. Done. I don't ever put an adjective in, mostly because I don't know what it's used for. You know what we're going to do? We're going to put TGSE here, so that way whenever I see the adjective come up, I will know what the fuck it's talking about. Alright, I wish there was a random button for this, because I would really like to click random a few times and then see what I get. But, I'm sure we can think of something. They look like wings. There we go, that's militarist with wings coming out of it. I like it. I tend to prefer interesting. Yeah, you'll be quite nice. Can we find... Well, I don't actually mind the grey and black. Sure, let's run that. It's terrible, but we'll do it. I almost always prefer to go energy weapons, and today will be no different. But we're also going to throw in something a little bit interesting. I'm going to choose hyperspace here, and hopefully that doesn't bite us in the bum. Alright. The glorious Stellar Empire has been saved. Now, I almost always like to play on huge galaxies, but for the purpose of this, we're going to be playing on small. Mostly because there's still the slowdown issues that happen towards the end of the game when playing on anything larger than about medium, and honestly I find that the game in small is pretty quick. I generally don't like two-arm spiral galaxies, but if we're going to be playing a a hyperlane nation, I really like the idea of doing that. And we're going to... no, actually I think that's about right. 11 and 3 sounds pretty good. Normal, any, and off. Now I could turn this on, but I don't really feel the need for it. Let's just jump in and play. Alright. So with any of these games, I always basically start it the same way. It's been a while since I've played this game, so you will have to forgive me for some things, but I like to split my initial fleet up into 3s, set them to Control 1, Control 2, and Control 3, and I really like this actually. Alright. 2 can go here. So the first thing you do whenever you start as a hyperlane empire is figure out where your choke points are going to be. Where is going to be the really hard things for you to deal with. Okay, naturally anything along here is going to be kind of problematic. Ideally we'd like to secure this bridge to this arm and this bridge to this arm. But in terms of the rest of it, honestly, we're basically... well, we don't actually have too bad a start here. I've certainly seen empires with far worse. You know, if we were over here, we'd want to make sure that this is in our space, and, you know, being stuck up here would be really bad. Not much in the way of expansion opportunities. So we've got a relatively good start for a hyperlane empire. So now it's just about making sure that we are good to go. Now, I used to like exploring massively, like exploring the entire galaxy if I could, but I since realized that that is the worst way to play Stellaris. Ideally, you really would prefer, generally speaking, to only discover what you truly need to, and leave everything else behind. The reason for that is that every... that's rather inefficient of me. Every nation or empire that you discover, like nothing that you do in the universe matters before discovering an empire. So you could be an utter bastard and, you know, cause the galaxy to go into chaos. And as long as, you know, you haven't come into contact with this species here, it doesn't matter that you've conquered half the known galaxy. At that point, they won't hate you for it. So you basically don't want to extend out too far. That being said, I do always like to know who is in my cluster, so that is what I'll start with. Now, the reason why I like to start with the Sol system layout is that the Sol system itself is quite full of celestial objects. I mean, it's got what? 1, 2, well, there's an easy way to find out. I click Survey System. 18 celestial objects. 19 even. So there are 19 celestial objects to survey, and additionally Alpha Centauri, I always forget if it's Alpha Centauri or Bernard Star. No, Bernard Star is fairly average, but Alpha Centauri is also full of a numerous amount of celestial objects. And whenever you start with the Sol system, these two are always within your base range. So I have said that many a time, but I generally prefer to play with a Sol system layout. So what I wanted to do about this newbie game is sort of show what I do first off, and show how I play the game in close form. Getting your science ship to just sort of go and start in this system is always good, and then I'll generally extend it out to any system within this sort of within the range of my borders. So that would be Alpha Centauri or Bernard Star. And I guess soon it'll be Procyon and these other 3 stars as well. For the first lot of tech, I like to basically always grab... Oh, administrative AI to begin with could be really good, actually. I usually like to always go down the solar panel network or get myself better lasers, but this early on will be hugely beneficial. It will really pay for itself. Wow, I've got lots of really cool stuff, actually. Lots of really cool stuff. We're just going to go for our usual setup though, and that is colony ships are super important. And let's go for powered exoskeletons. Now if we have a look, we've just got some pretty average scientists there. Let's see if we can get anything better here. So if we one of the things that you should always think of doing is taking a quick look. I always forget where this is. You can tell it's been a while since I've played the game. Here we go. Always have a look at your recruitable scientists, because, and this is a perfect example, you may just have someone who has Spark of Genius, which is going to give you a 10% discount on your science. So we're going to replace, oh, that's not the button, we're going to replace this guy with our Spark of Genius, and that dropped that down by a couple of months. So, good, very good. So yeah, we've now set up the science, but you can see here we have, and so every planet that you start on starts differently too. This setup isn't going to be the same on all of the planets. So we have already 9 minerals, which is pretty solid actually to begin with in a game of this. 9 minerals is quite nice. We've only got 2 energy credit gain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to very quickly clear this and probably move one of these guys over once it's cleared. In fact, I'm surprised we're not already breeding. I think we need to wait until the end of the month before we start breeding. But yeah, that won't be too long. Yep, there we go. And you'll look and we'll see we have 1.4 per month growth progress. So, more than enough food. And that will not be a problem. I keep looking at the camera while I'm playing. So we're going to speed this up to fast and sort of go and have a quick look. We're yet to encounter any aliens, which is kind of impressive actually.
Situation
there we go.
updated.
Okay, and we have our first
Situation log updated.
we have our first nation, which is here, which is kind of unfortunate for us because it means that their borders will cut across this this particular line here. Now we could fix this, you know, if we had the right amount of influence and stuff. We could build a frontier outpost here and secure this within our nation's borders, within our empire's borders, but we don't have that as an option. So, ooh, what have we got there? Ah, crystalline elites. This is super fortuitous. So when I'm looking for when I'm looking around for alien types to encounter, the aliens that I want to encounter the most are crystalline elites. And the reason why is that they have a technology that you can get for defeating them, which is fairly substantial. If you get it early enough, it's hugely beneficial. It will basically win you encounters, so... Yeah, and that is an actual civilization. Okay. Well, they'll probably research us before long. Now, if I have a look, we've been pretty unlucky so far. We haven't really got anything outside of a little bit of minerals and a little bit of energy. We're doing fine with energy, minerals at the moment, so I'm going to start with energy. One thing I didn't take a look at was my ruler traits. Thankfully, we've got a really good starting ruler trait of Space Miner, which gives us cheap constructors and cheap mining stations, plus expansionist, which gives us cheaper frontier outposts as well. This is quite nice. Generally speaking, I'd prefer, I think the additional influence works out to be better than cheaper frontier outposts, if memory serves. Not 100% certain on that.
Situation log updated.
Now you might be wondering why I'm not queuing up the minerals on Luna, and the answer is pretty simple. I don't know whether or not he will discover like a +3 between now and then, and I'd rather exploit a +3 if required. So when you've played Stellaris a lot, you get to the point where you can identify alien types just by looking at them. And we've basically gotten to that point here. So, you know, we know that these are, for instance, because they're surrounding a pulsar, and they're sitting like that, that they're alien crystalline elites, which is good. Really quite beneficial for us. So, interesting. We haven't set our ship up to go there. We'll also add
Situation log updated.
Okay, nation there. That's fine. All right, so we have, as you can see, tons. We have a really good starting system, actually. This is going to be amazingly beneficial for us. 8 minerals already.
Situation log updated.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty crazy. Okay. Let's get you to the mining station on Luna, and then we'll figure it out. So this is why we use Sol system as a starting system always. I'll leave that be for now. Sorry about that noise. So there are just so many celestial objects that there are so many chances for additional materials and stuff like that. This is an amazing start. So I think we're pretty happy. Even if it turns out that we can't expand much, it's going to be good. Oh, awesome. Awesome. That is a really good trait to get. So I've explained to some people that so I've mentioned this a couple of times, I mentioned this in the Empire Builder, and here it sort of proves it. One of the things that you can get as your empire, as either your government type or your traits, species traits, is the ability to start with additional levels on your leaders. Unfortunately, additional skills are acquired when you level up. There are other instances which also will give you additional skills, but many of them are triggered at level up. Like there's a roll of the dice percentage chance to see whether or not you get a new ability. So here we've got a new ability because we leveled up to level 2. So that works out for us quite nicely. We don't have, so you always want to have details map mode enabled unless you're making pretty screenshots and stuff, because it shows you. I was curious why I wasn't seeing this stuff. So here you can see we've even found some more minerals here. You can see that whenever you start as a nation, so we've started as a desert preference, you will always have within basically sort of this sort of circle. So it might be just beyond your current borders, but you will always have 2 systems that have a desert world. So there's the other one. Okay. So you've got 2 desert worlds available to you at any time. You'll always have 2 worlds of your preference bordering you. It's just part of the galaxy generation when they undergo that. So still not queuing these up, of course, because I would really like to see a +3 somewhere, but that's okay. Let's go hit up Mars next, and then we'll do the rest. And the good thing about making your... oh, we've got a ship doing nothing. Oh, right, because we just sent you over here and then didn't continue. Okay, well, let's... So we know that there's no empire here. There could be a fallen empire here. If there's a fallen empire, I'd prefer to find them now rather than later. And if this is empty space, I'd like to know that now as well. So we will endeavor to do that. And then we'll just send you over to here and just finish these off. So, for instance, you can even do this to figure out, so we haven't surveyed this guy. Let's pretend like we haven't even gone into this planet. Like, I have enough here that I could find out what type of world he likes just by looking at a system. But let's say that you haven't done that, and you wanted to find out what type of world he likes before you research him. Well, we can figure out that, unfortunately, he is also a desert world. And that's because within his border range, there are 2 desert world planets, and nothing else. So this world will be a desert world. See? Pretty straightforward. You can use these logical leaps to your advantage. So unless there's another empire in sort of either this little segment, which we are checking. Okay. So we've sent that guy to do that. Actually, I'm going to send you to go as far as that. So the other thing that's worth pointing out, and I've mentioned this before as well, is that empires are kind of seeded with clusters of AI, of empires. Okay, so you're always in a cluster. Your cluster is a minimum 3 empire cluster. So for instance, this cluster might just be these 3 guys, but it might be more. And I'd like to find out whether or not I'm on the border of my cluster, so I'm like at either end, or if, as I can see here, or if I am in the middle of a cluster. Now, this might be the start of a second cluster. The only way that I'll be able to tell is, so if it's part of our cluster, there'll be another empire here as well. So we'll see how that goes. Now, science ship is just about finished. I'm going to send you off to mine there and then get you to move over here. Oh, no, I'm going to get you to move over here and mine that. This is a fantastic system. I am curious to know what Triton's going to give. Okay, nothing. But still, like, I am never going to complain about a starting system with 7, 10. I don't care about the science. The science is nice and I love it, but I'll take the minerals for now. Okay, so if I think about the way that I want to expand, so I want to expand obviously into other desert worlds. Sirius is just beyond our borders, but it does have a desert world. Alpha Centauri is within our borders, but we've got so much stuff here to mine that we're not going to be done mining this stuff by the time I have finished in another system. So normally, let's say I barely discovered anything in here, right? Normally what I would want to do is I would want to send my science ship to go and find the other stars within my borders and have a look at those and see if I've got any better luck with those. Since I have lots of stuff in this system, my constructor is going to be far too busy to really make the most out of that. So instead we're going to go beyond our borders to try and find interesting planets elsewhere. So we're going to do Sirius, and then depending on how the constructor is done and how much is in Sirius, Sirius is another, by the way, default thing that you get when you start as Sol. You get Alpha Centauri, Bernard Star, and Sirius. Depending on how many celestial objects are in Sirius and how fast my science ship's done in Sirius, I may move it on to Anuk as well. Wow, there's quite a lot of desert world options here, so we'll probably make that work for us quite well. And now if I have a look at Alpha Centauri, yeah, you can see Alpha Centauri is a fairly average amount too. But I'll take one really good system and 2 average systems within my empire than letting the game randomly assign me stuff and then randomly assign me with terrible stuff. And if I remember, Sirius is fairly decent as well. Yeah. Like, honestly, you get some systems that have sort of next to nothing in them. I can't show you one right now, apparently, but they do exist. And they aren't too uncommon either. So, unfortunately, well, fortunately, many of the things around us are fairly average in the number of celestial objects they have. But you can end up with systems that have next to nothing. In fact, if you've got a black hole system anywhere, and I haven't found one yet, often pulsar systems don't have too much. And in fact, I think the pulsar system just here, yeah, has next to nothing as well. Pulsars, though, give their own benefits. The pulsar itself will give massive science research, which is why I'm so intrigued by Sirius or Nuke, because either way I'll be able to get this within our borders, so that is really beneficial to us. Now, if I wanted to, I could potentially speed this up, especially considering the amount of minerals we're getting per month already, by building another constructor. I'm going to move this guy over here. In fact, I'm probably going to switch this across, because I would rather give us more energy credits than more minerals right now. And I don't mind slowing this guy's growth down a little bit. It's not going to kill me at the end of the day. That being said, I would like to build power plant on you. Normally I might wait for Betharian power plants to build that, but I'm pretty happy just getting some additional power right now. Okay. Alright, still no aliens here. That's really good for us. Our borders will clearly sort of cover Procyon, and then we will be able to move into this sort of ring without any issues. We haven't gotten particularly lucky with habitable worlds over here, but I imagine we'll find at least one, and there is one. Excellent. Alright, how is our colonization tech going? 43 months. Why has that increased so much? I do not know. But that's okay. One of the things that you can do, I don't suggest ever doing it early on, is in your policies you can choose which of the research grants you want. Plus you can choose encourage free thought. Now, each of these costs 1 influence per month, with later on you'll get a technology which lowers them. You can choose to basically select one, or if you wanted to, you can select all 3 for a flat 10% gain to everything. Not bad, but I wouldn't necessarily suggest doing it. Also, didn't we end up picking Fanatic Materialist? Shouldn't we be getting... Yeah. Shouldn't we be getting like 5.5 because of Fanatic Materialist? Ah, it's a pop modifier. I didn't see that. Of course it's a pop modifier, you idiot. Oh well. We do make mistakes. I haven't really played with Materialist too much. So we have a desert world over here that's pretty good. It has a little bit of physics research on it, which I'm always a fan of. Physics research is the hardest to find in the galaxy, so if ever you find a good source of it, it's worth exploring. And there's a lot of tiles that are unexploited here. The other thing that I really like about it is there's a perfect, well not a perfect, but close to a perfect start for my ship to settle. So if I settled here, it would eventually give a tile bonus to its adjacent tiles for energy, minerals, or food. Since it has all of that around it, that will be pretty good. And of course, we can build another thing here. So that's a pretty prime candidate for colonization. And it's probably not too bad a system. Okay, so we have one of our ships back. Now, since we haven't discovered another nation here, unless it's like right here, no, I think even that would be too far. This is the beginning of a new cluster. So we have our cluster here, which might be more than this, because there may be like another guy over here that we're not familiar with. So that's what he's going to go and figure out. If he doesn't spot another alien probably here, I guess it could be as... no, it couldn't be as far as that. So if he doesn't spot another alien there, we only have a 3 empire cluster here, which is going to be really good for me because it means we're going to be able to take stuff over pretty quickly and easily. And I'm pretty sure... actually, it's really hard to tell. I guess if you're starting there, this might technically be within your range. I reckon your ocean. Tropical. Wow. So there's your first tropical world. I guess the other tropical world's here. Or it could even be within this system. Although, no, if it was, we'd see a little icon here. I'm guessing this system, or, yeah, this would be the only one that it could be, would be a tropical world. Now, tropical's kind of interesting for us, so if we have a look at our demographics, we have a desert preference, which means we've got pretty good tropical habitability. Ideally, what we're wanting to find out of these guys, and we haven't found it naturally, is a preference for continental or tundra or Arctic, which is the one thing that we have like 0% chance. So ideally, when you're wanting to conquer another empire, you're wanting to exploit them, and you can exploit them in more than one way. Exploiting them for their actual species, so that way you can go and colonize more worlds, is always beneficial. Even though it'll be a long time before I get like Arctic colonization tech, it's worth having a quick look. Okay, so no... maybe there? Surely that's too far.
Complete.
Where is your second tropical world? I'm a little bit surprised by that. I mean, it could be there, but I don't think it should be. Unless the generation had some sort of a hiccup, which is possible. Okay, so with our first staff lock here, we could go and explore a little bit more. I'm not particularly interested in exploring any more than this. We have massive swaths of uninhabited land that we can grab. That being said, I wouldn't mind going and just exploring this real quick. The reason for exploring this, by the way, is because I have to figure out where my next step is once I've conquered. Now, there's a nice gulf of uninhabited land up here that would work really well, but I'm curious to see if I also have that option down here.
Hostile fleet engaged.
Oh, that's unfortunate. So sometimes when you go into a system, even when you're just sort of going between system to system, you end up entering a system like this. And potentially having an encounter that isn't going to end well for you. Still, usually with these initial encounters you can just retreat, but we didn't. In that instance, we actually lost that ship. But that's okay, 1 Corvette at this stage of the game is nothing, so that's fine. Now, our constructor has stopped doing stuff, so we should rectify that. We've got lots of energy coming in, so we're going to just focus on the minerals now. Actually, no, let's move you to here, build that mining station, then that mining station. So we also have this Signs of Battle, which might be beneficial for us, potentially. Off the top of my head, I don't really remember what Signs of Battle gives us, but I'm sure we can figure it out. Now the other reason why I want to look at these planets first is because ideally I want to block these guys in. So blocking this guy in is impossible, and in fact I don't want to block this guy in. If I really wanted him, I want him to get closer to me than further away. We're going to leave that be for now. We'll eventually have a look at it. Ideally, I want him to not expand in this direction, because that will cause problems when it comes to conquering him. Unless he is like really good, like Empire type, he is going to be the person, the nation, the Empire that I deal with.
Situation log updated.
Okay, so we do have another Empire just there. Okay, I still don't know where this guy's second tropical world is. See, if I was just looking at these, I'd say he was ocean, but he's clearly not. This confuses me. Alright, so we've found another empire here, which is kind of good because in theory he could be part of our initial cluster, although I don't think he is. I think he's part of his own cluster. So we will figure that out. I imagine we'll spot a second one if we went that far. We're not going to, but I would like to still see this part of the world.
System survey.
We got my constructor doing construction stuff. We can speed up to 3 pretty soon. Right. So we've got a 24 tile world that we can't colonize. Okay, this is ultra rich. So, and it's got atmospheric aphrodisiac, which is pretty cool. It does give some ethics divergence, which is bad, but it's fine. Because of its ultra rich, this is an amazing planet, even though it doesn't have much in the way of base minerals, and in fact, it's got loads of base energy. What we could do with this is just turn this into a complete mining sector, and that would be pretty darn cool. So, that's not a bad planet either. You always need to pay attention to any modifiers that might be up here. You don't ever, to my knowledge, start with them on your home world, but that doesn't mean that they won't exist elsewhere. Alright, Confident Hatchling, where are we going to send you next? Wouldn't mind checking out that one, but you're level 3 now, so let's go and research you. And then survey you and you. Excuse me. Really should have gotten a drink before I started making these videos. Alright, we can speed up to speed 3 now, which is quite speedy. And once you're all done with that, move there.
Situation log updated.
So we're taking a bit of a slow start. Normally I would like to be sort of focusing on science at this point, because early science can give you massive dividends later on. 2 points of science is massive boost.
Evading hostile fleet. Science ship under attack. Evading hostile
Critical failure. Oh, shite. Yeah, see, this is a different stretch for sure. Where is my second? Okay, cool, he's heading home as well. Alright, let's get you... So, sublight is really interesting, right? It's actually better to generally continue on. Oh wow, okay, that evaded.
Hostile fleet engaged. Research
I may
complete.
actually need to evade here as well. Basic combat rolls is fantastic. But Power Hub is also good. Some additional survey speed is always good as well. I'll take the basic combat rolls because of the expertise in computing. Even though it's quite a significant investment, it will work out for us in the end. So naturally we're going to lose here. But... oh, and I didn't click this soon enough. Oh no, I did. Cool. So, he retreats. I need to slow this down just a tad. I do like the Habitable Worlds event. Okay. Yeah, totally crystalline elites. Oh, please get out of there in time. Yeah, cool, I will. That's fine. Okay, and then head over here. And then over here. I think these guys will maintain stationary for the most, so that's fine. I'm curious if they have any... oh, we can view their details. Okay, they do have small fusion reactors, which might be good for us. So it might be worth taking them out for... yeah, for the ability to get ourselves some fusion reactors. It's a pity we didn't get anything particularly fantastic, but that's okay. Survey that system. No, let's set you to passive. That's fine. So in the time it's taken this guy to go back to base, this guy's warped into his systems.
Research complete.
So that's why when we're getting him to warp in here, rather than getting him to like come over here, we're actually going to get him to go one further and then come on back. So additional minerals are good, and Pytharian power plant right away, or robots. When I take a look at what we have available to us, we have a lot of potential for robots to be really beneficial for us. We have a lot of colonizable worlds, and I wouldn't mind... yeah, I wouldn't mind colonizing them. And putting robots to work on material tiles is quite advantageous. But that's okay. We'll get the Pytharian power plant instead, because it's also going to provide us with great benefits. Okay. So we have the Gagasi hegemony, and we're going to say cooperation will surely benefit us all. It's a momentous occasion. Let's have a look at you. You're hegemonic imperialists, so you're fanatic collectivist xenophobes. So I'm really glad that I decided that I was going to go to war with you, because you are going to be really easy to go to war with. So that's what we're going to do. Ugh. Turns out I must have shifted it anyway. It didn't seem to work the way I wanted it to. But that's okay. Do I want to build a third? No. I wonder if I engage him from over here, if I can get this involved as well. Okay, you're not doing anything currently. Despite the fact that I'm pretty sure I set you up to do stuff. Oh. That's why. Okay, so we got 46 here. Remember that the only difference between the enemy and myself is the fact that the enemy has Tech 2 reactors. That's it. So, the other difference is that the enemy can't heal. So it's taken some damage. And we can always retreat and come back into this if we need to.
Hostile fleet engaged.
Ideally, I'd like to pop his Corvette. I don't know why we're splitting fire. So the enemy is concentrating fire and we're splitting fire, which is really bad for us. So we're going to retreat here. It's really annoying. It's just time consuming, but that's fine. Now, it does cost minerals to repair, which is why I was contemplating building a third ship to take these guys out. But that's okay. Alright, we've got the Huo. Wow, you guys are ugly. Ugly. But they are pacifist spiritualists. Okay, so they're just seeking spiritualized stuff. That's good. Their fleet power is superior compared to ours. That's fine. Now, neither of these are advanced AI starts. So an advanced AI start actually starts with multiple planets. So that's pretty good that we haven't run into one of those yet, at least within our base number of empires. Even these guys aren't an advanced one. Now, it is possible that the guys in Yalbask or the guys in Cyrus... Oh, we did find someone here. Interesting. No, I'm guessing that with this Gulf, you guys would be another one. Yeah, it should be fine though. Okay, so we've surveyed Alpha Centauri, which is mostly science, which is good. Some additional science is going to be quite beneficial for us. It's a pity it's spread amongst 3 planets, and it's a pity that 2 is on a planet that we would want, but look at this physics. So here's what I'm talking about when it comes to physics. Physics research, being the rarest research to find in space, is often easy to find down planet side. So it's usually quite beneficial to search for your planets and see which worlds have high physics research and see if you want to colonize them. We'll definitely want to take advantage of that, so that's what we will be attempting to do in the not too distant future. Okay, so we've got 5 energy there. Yeah, we're raking it in now, that's good. We'll eventually clear all this stuff up, but not straight away. Colonization tech is just around the corner, and we will be utilizing that. Pity you're a tropical world. So you're going to be who we go to war with first. Then Huagigag can come second. We can't really block Huagigag in unless... Yeah, no, we didn't get a chance to look at their ships. Since we didn't get a chance to look at either of their ships, we don't actually know... which of the enemy... which of their warp types that they have. So that could be really problematic for us. Alright, our ships have healed, so let's go and get it on. They will... I'm gonna just let them fight until they've finished, so we can also just throw you in. Let's get our research started.
Hostile fleet engaged.
Are we splitting fire again? No, we weren't. Good. So we'll definitely finish him off before he does us, so that's good. Now, ideally, when... Okay, cool. Hello, bird friends. Whenever you
Situation log updated.
whenever you basically find a thing like something you'd like to research, one of the ways that you can get additional debris is if you choose to retreat after destroying at least one enemy vessel, it will create debris, which we could have used to get that technology. Now, getting tier 2 power plants isn't a huge deal, but I don't mind the idea of it. Okay, cool, some physics research there as well. That would be really, really handy.
System survey complete.
Okay, so now we've surveyed most of this. If we're going to choose, so here's what I want to do. Now that I've surveyed the habitable planets sort of nearby, I think there was one more desert around that I could have surveyed, but yeah, there it is. But there's sort of no need. No one's going to be rushing to get this desert planet, right? I'll check out our Cyrus guys in a second. But the next thing that I do is I go, okay, I know where I want to colonize. Okay, ideally I want to colonize either Nuke or Sirius, and most likely I'm going to be doing both. So I can do one of two things here. First of all, I can figure out which one I want to do first, and the easiest way to figure out which one I want to do first is to research, so survey a system that will be within the borders of one but not the other. So if I colonize Sirius, Media will not fall within his borders, so at least not initially. So I could survey Media, see if Media is a really interesting system that I want within my borders early, at which point I would choose to colonize a Nuke over Sirius. So that's one way that I can do things. The other way that I can do things is figure out where I want to be placing any frontier outposts. So here's the thing. I really, I'm gonna deal with these guys pretty quickly, but them colonizing these worlds will likely push their borders through Devasa, which will limit some of the transportation options that I can take. Not significantly in any massive way, but at least a little bit. Also, if they turn out to be hyperlane aliens as well, then they're going to have to push through Devasa, which will be really beneficial for us to have this under our control. So there's more than one reason to want to go and survey this system and think about putting a frontier outpost there, because we have to figure out where we want to put our first frontier outpost. Alternatively, what we can do is we can put a frontier outpost in Najaga. So what we can do is we can colonize Nuke, Sirius, and frontier outpost Najaga, and then at least in this way, this guy can't expand. So we're basically forcing these two to go against each other, and then, we'll come in and do the rest. So that'll work pretty well. The question is, how do we want to do that? Which of these two things do we want to do? The thing is, these guys won't want to go to war against us, so that's good. We don't need to worry too much about having to deal with them. These guys, however, probably might be, or at least they will eventually. We're both desert worlds, so we have some more worlds of strategic interest. So that's definitely something we have to be paying attention to. The other thing that we can do, of course, is just figure out if we want to just sort of stake our claim over here, sort of preventing Venbar and Cyrus from pushing into areas where we could gain benefit. So let's take a look at Cyrus. Cyrus is most likely an arid or an Arctic civilization. Unfortunately, we haven't figured out, but you can see back here, here's an arid. It's hegemonic imperialist, so collectivist, and phonetic materialist. Phonetic materialist means that we are likely going to be capable of being friends. We're both materialists, and I'm charismatic, so let's establish an embassy over here, because I feel like this is going to be our first friend. As for Venbor, who knows? So he's arid, which is pretty close to desert, which means deserts are going to be within his sort of habitable range. So we kind of want to stop him from potentially getting any of that. Also, there's kind of a little bit of a choke sort of important hyperlane spot here, which I wouldn't mind grabbing as well.